Okay, am I on? Yeah, okay, thank you. Good evening. Welcome, councillors, members of the public and staff. My name is Councillor Joe Wada, and I declare that the public forum open at, what time is it? 6:05. Everyone at this public forum session is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communications factual, use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply. I also ask councillors to observe the requirement under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recording are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recording, audio recordings, or photographs taken. In case of an emergency, please follow the instructions of the council staff, exit via the town hall foyer, and proceed to the evacuation point. I'd like to also start with acknowledging country. I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal clans, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respect to elders past and present. Councillors that are with us tonight, any declaration, disclosure of interest, councillors? None? Okay, that'll be noted. Thank you. Now we're on to public forum. Members of the public who applied to speak at a public forum are now invited to address the Mayor and councillors. Speakers who are joining the meeting via the MS Teams are reminded to have your video off and microphone muted until I invite you to speak. Speakers will be removed from the MS Team once the item has been concluded. As no decisions are made at the public forum, you are invited to watch the remainder of the public forum on Bayside Council's YouTube channel. Speakers attending in person or via MS Teams have been advised on your allocated time to address public forum. A warning bell will sound when only 1 minute of speaking time remains. Speakers attending in person or via MS Teams will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time or share their screens. Speakers are also reminded to keep communication factual, polite and professional, and the use of appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply to address in public forum. So tonight we have one speaker dealing with the City Services Committee, item CS 26.002, Bayside Historical Marker Program. So I believe we've got the speaker on the line. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening to the chairperson and councillors. My name's Lachlan McLean from Unit 1226 Premier Street, Kogarah. I would like to speak in favour of the officer's recommendation for item CS 26002, the Bayside Historical Marker Program. I made a submission on behalf of the R2K Return to Kogarah Community Group for a historical marker to be placed at the site of the former Earl Park, Arncliffe, which was the home ground of the St George Dragons between 1925 to 1939. The late Rockdale councillor, Lancelot Lewis Earl, born 1862, died 1938, owned and lived on the Earl Park estate at 17 Wollongong Road until his passing. He was first elected to the Rockdale Council Arncliffe Ward in October 1925 during a Rockdale by-election and stayed on council until 1937 when he was forced to retire due to ill health. He had twice been deputy mayor. Earl was a godsend for the newly formed St George Dragons District Rugby League Football Club, who had no permanent home after experiencing issues with Hurstville Oval. Earl spent his funds to make the ground and build the grandstand. The St George Call, the local newspaper, highlighted the positive impact of Earl Park on Arncliffe and said it put Arncliffe on the map. Earl Park remains part of rugby league folklore today, with two matches in particular standing out in the history books. The Earl Park Riot, which occurred on the 11th of August 1928 against Balmain. A Guinness World Record. St George created a premiership record when they defeated Canterbury 91-6 on the 11th of May 1935, and this is still recognised by Guinness World Records. Yet Earl Park was about so much more than rugby league. It became a focal point for the broader St George community, with events to raise funds for the St George District Hospital and Ambulance and for the unemployed during the Great Depression. Unfortunately, when Earl passed away in 1938, the land was put up for sale and was purchased by Cook's Caramels in 1945. Last year, I was very honoured to meet Lancelot Earl's grandchildren, Anne Chapman, who remembers her grandfather when she was a very young girl, Lillian Barter and Tom Earl. They hope Earl Park will be recognised with a historical marker. Last year was 100 years since the ground was opened for the local community. Arncliffe Scots also played matches at Earl Park. It would be great to commemorate the ground on the 100th anniversary of Arncliffe Scots Rugby League Club this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your input. Now, there being no further public forum, I declare the public forum session this evening closed at 6:11. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
Chair, could we just note that the second speaker, who hasn't come tonight,
Sure.
they elected instead to put in a written submission that we've placed on the councillor portal. It was in favour of the, it was speaking for the Bicentennial Park Sportsfields allocation report.
Okay.
But for the councillors' information, that's been placed on the portal so that you can read that submission.
Great. No, thanks for highlighting that, GM. Okay. Thank you.
We'll talk again about this in the committee.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. We're on. Okay. Maybe I'll start by stating City Services Committee meeting 11th of February 2026. Welcome councillors, members of the public and staff. I declare meeting open at 7:02. Everyone at this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply. I also ask councillors to observe the requirement under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings, or photographs taken. In case of an emergency, please follow the instructions of council staff, exit via the town hall foyer and proceed to the evacuation point. Councillors and staff, I would like to start by acknowledging the Bidjigal clans, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respect to elders past and present. Apologies, we've got two apologies tonight. We've got apology from Mayor Councillor McDougall and Councillor Curry. We have no leave of absence, and then we will proceed. Anyone attending via audio visual? Okay, so we've got no one online attending and no procedural motion. We're on to disclosure of interest, councillors. Would any councillor here tonight would have any disclosure of interest? No disclosure of interest. So we've got the minutes of the previous city services meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder that were here last meeting, please? Councillor Strong and seconded by Councillor Brederhoff. Thank you. All in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. That will be in the minutes. Okay, now items by exception nil. What we have, we're going on to reports. We have 6 reports on tonight's agenda. The first one being CS 26001, and that's the Barton Park Sports Precinct 12-month management model review. Could I please have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kassim, seconded by Councillor Brederhoff. Thank you. Now, who's given us a bit of a... thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Chair. In April 2024, Council resolved to implement a hybrid management model for Barton Park, licensing Grassfields 1 and 2 to St George Football Club and undertaking a 12-month trial of direct council management for the Grassfields 3 and 4 and the tennis courts. Barton Park was officially opened in May 24 and bookings commenced from July 24 in accordance with Council's adopted fees and charges. This report focuses on the outcomes of the direct management trial for Fields 3 and 4 and the tennis courts, using financial year data from 24-25 and includes analysis of usage, costs and community outcomes. The review demonstrates that direct council management has delivered strong community benefit through high utilisation, equitable and flexible access, and alignment with council's participation and inclusion objectives. The tennis courts have continued to perform strongly, both in usage and revenue, while Fields 3 and 4 are in high demand by non-fee paying juniors, supporting schools, grassroots clubs, association scheduling and clubs temporarily displaced due to capital works and field upgrades. While council carries the cost of operations and maintenance for these fields and courts, this is offset by the significant community value delivered. The management model positions Barton Park for future council-led activation opportunities in partnership with sporting bodies and service providers, including expanded programming and the introduction of emerging activities such as the extremely popular pickleball. The report recommends that the committee endorses the continuation of in-house management of fields 3 and 4 and the tennis courts at Barton Park.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councillors, any questions for Deborah? Thank you. Councillor Kasim.
Thank you very much for that. It's really impressive to see that, we can actually do better by doing things internally and managing things internally. I guess I'm interested that, obviously a large number of our fields and existing facilities are just let out at least entirely licensed. I guess what the process is for assessing whether any of the existing arrangements we have, which presumably will come to an end at some point for renewal, what the process is for reviewing different ways of managing those, or whether all of that was done beforehand and we've come to the conclusion that those licensing arrangements are the best way, because this is positive. If maybe there are other facilities which we have which might be subsequently treated, similarly treated.
Through you, the Chair, there was an EOI process for Barton Park, which Council resolved for this model in relation to a shared use model for Barton. In terms of it doesn't have, so then it doesn't therefore have a traditional historic home club under a licence arrangement for those fields. So some of our other fields are going to be, I guess, allocated under what's proposed is the new draft allocation process. In relation to the licensed venues where they are more exclusively used, they come under review when they come to the end of their term, and that is managed by our property team through a process which reports back through to council.
Thank you. Councillor.
Did that answer your question, Councillor Kasim?
Yeah. Okay. So by licence, I mean maybe I used the wrong term. Ones which are permanently allocated to home teams.
So Barton Park, I guess Barton Park would never be allocated to a specific.
Yeah. I'm saying,
club,
but
is that
we
right?
have a whole lot of other fields which are. I guess I'm just thinking because obviously, particularly around Mascot, and other places where we don't have too many facilities, and what arrangements there are to ensure that as many different sports and, codes and, sporting groups have access to what are actually, facilities in quite short supply.
Sorry, through the chair. You did use the right word when you said licence. So those arrangements do periodically come to a conclusion and do need to come back to council for reallocation. I think, though, what you see reflected in the circumstances that we have in some of our fields, it's a very long-term and a historic relationship, and clubs need to have home fields to be part of a local association, have their home games and their away games. So I guess what you're really describing is the shortage that we have in the amount of open space and sports fields that are available to accommodate all of the emerging codes and sporting needs, and also balance that with respecting and accommodating those that have had a long-term relationship with particular fields. It's why we've, trying to share wherever possible.
Yeah.
It's why council our staff brought back to council late last year the allocations policy,
Yep.
talking around, how we could actually expand use, share where possible, look at where those clubs don't need 5 days a week and where we can actually allocate some of that time to other clubs. But it is a really difficult balancing act to achieve that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks,
and we'll be just because only because I'm new and so I don't have a sense of the schedule of that. Like the timing for when all of these come up. Because presumably for exactly that reason that people need to be able to plan ahead and all the rest of it, they're probably long term.
They are usually long-term, 21 years.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Councillor Brederhoff. Now you can.
Sorry. Thank you. It's very loud, isn't it? Could you, Joe, you have yours on too?
Mine always stays on.
Okay, I just have one question. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry. Point 22 says council explores. Does it work?
Oh, sorry. Point 2.2 says that council explores the provision of pickleball line marking and associated infrastructure. I know that there have been requests for pickleball, and as you said, is very popular. So should this word explore be turned into install, subject to funding? Or because I do think it'll come back to council, to us, or can we just approve this? Is that something that could be done?
You certainly change the word if you want to change it to subject to funding, install.
Yeah, install. Is that so? Then that can just be.
So that, can we change explore in 2.2 install, or is there a different word? Yeah. Implement or create. Establish is a good one. Okay.
There's subject to funding. It's on the third line. Established. At the word step or is implement. Okay, no worries. It's all good. Okay.
Okay. Councillor Kasim, you're happy with the change? Highlighted there. Councillor Douglas.
Just on that point, I know that I have previously played pickleball, so I will declare that I do not currently have a conflict of interest because I no longer play, but I have had lots of inquiries from the community for pickleball markings at Barton Park, and I note that number 2.3 is to expand pickleball programs potentially. So I'm wondering why we're only implementing one of the 4 pickleball line markings on the courts, because most of the games that I've been part of or witnessed are multi-court, multiplayer, so they circulate around and it's very social experience. So it would work better if all of the courts were used simultaneously.
Through the chair, I think it's just the type of markings that we look at. So when you look at the surfacing for pickleball, it saturates rather than just one singular line that can be confused between tennis and pickleball, but we can have a look at applying it to the other courts. We also get feedback from the tennis players that there's confusion when there's more than certain line markings. You get your purist tennis players versus your purist pickleballs that like to have clear markings on the court, particularly when you're running coaching programs or other activities. So it's a way of trying to find a balance. You can fit 4 pickleball courts onto one tennis court. But that was the analogy, was to you start off with the one, put 4 in there, and then we could potentially expand that after a while into the other courts. but we would want to start with the one with the forecourts.
Okay, thank you. Okay, councillors, any other questions? So we've got a mover and a seconder on that item. All in favour, say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you, councillors. We're on to the next report, CS 26.002, Bayside Historical Marker Program. We've got an officer's recommendation. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Bredehoff, second by Councillor Strong, who's given us a bit of a rundown. Thank you, Deborah.
Through you, Chair. This report presents the outcomes of the second round of Council's Historic Marker Program, launched in September 2025, to recognise and celebrate sites, people and stories of historical and cultural significance across Bayside. A great example that we've heard about from our speaker tonight. A total of 13 nominations for 11 locations were received, and each was assessed by a review panel against the criteria outlined in the Historic Marker Policy, including historical significance, association with the site, contribution to community understanding, and public accessibility. Following the assessment, 5 nominations are recommended for installation as part of this year's program. The Botany Literacy Institute, which is now the John Brocci Nursery School, the Botany Fire Station, Bruce Mackenzie at Sir Joseph Banks Park, Earl Park in Arncliffe, and Lytham Hall in Rockdale. Each marker that will be installed includes a QR code linking to Council's Historical Marker webpage, allowing the community to explore more information on both 2024 markers and the current markers. The program continues to celebrate Bayside's rich cultural and historic fabric, encourages community participation in preserving local heritage, and supports Council's strategic objectives for a vibrant, connected and creative city. The report recommends that the committee endorse the 5 historical markers in the locations recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Poulos. It's on.
We have all well and good and great initiative. Do we have any indication of when the next round of nominations will be opened or considered?
We'd probably cycle into the same time frame, so launching around that September towards the end of this year, and then we would come back again cycling through around this time with the outcome.
And are we actively encouraging participation from groups that we are aware of, or is it just pretty much a blanket application?
Through you, the Chair, we reach out through various mediums and promote it through our schools, through our historical societies and trusts. Also when we get inquiries. So we had some inquiries recently of wanting to recognise some areas of historical significance, and we then refer them or put them on file and refer them into the historical marker nominations. So it is getting more popular and more spread across the community, which is great, and that's demonstrative of some of the applications that we got this year, which weren't just coming from the trusts or, you know, historical community members. There's a wide range. Schools are very popular in nominating their schools as well.
That's great. So you obviously have created a database, and then once you actually start your marketing or your media sort of strategy, you'll reach out to them. Fantastic.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in the report, that the ones that meet the criteria but weren't selected this year, they don't have to reapply. They will be on the database to be reconsidered for next year. And that's what we did, for example, for Lytham Hall, that was nominated last year, that came through this year.
Okay, thank you. Look, I'd have to say, a great report. Thank you so much for your effort on that report. And I love the photos, especially when you look at Botany Fire Station, 1938, how we kept these photos, I don't know. It just looks so great. No, thanks for that. Any other comments, Councillor Kassim?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, lovely. Really got some beautiful heritage in the LGA. I guess I'm interested in whether or not there's any sort of themes arising in any of these nominations, and whether in future we could actually call for themes. So with a view to even like setting up sort of like trails. The history of people who've been really pioneers in environmental things or something, and another one on people who were community service, advocates or whatever, because we are really historic. I mean, like, particularly around Botany and Mascot, but also other parts of St George. Sometimes we have so many firsts, first primary school, whatever, first, so. But if we had themes, we could actually then almost promote it like that, promote little walks and that sort of stuff, or use our cycle paths and things, cycle round to on a theme, on a trail.
Through you, Chair. Yes. Well, we're in the second year of testing the water about the enthusiasm of the community for the program. And now that we've established that there is quite a lot of support for it, we can look at where we take it to in the next stages. And considering something like themes is certainly something that we can do. Also, we have a QR code on each of the markers, and we're proposing to develop those QR codes into a heritage historical walk.
Yeah.
So that'll be available this year before the next program launches. So you will be able to download the app and just go on a historical tour of the sites that have currently been recognised.
Oh, okay.
Without wanting to limit things too much. When we try to be too specific around themes, we don't get enough applications.
Yeah.
But we will certainly look at that going forward.
Yeah. Or maybe it becomes like a way to just get people to start thinking, oh, I hadn't thought of that sort of thing as historic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Deborah. Any other questions, councillors, on this? Okay, so we've got a officer recommendation. Mover and seconder. All in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Councillors, we're on to the third report, CS 26.003, Bicentennial Park East Sports Fields. We have an officer's recommendation. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Brederhoff, seconded by Councillor Strong. Are you happy with that? All right. Okay. Is that you again? Thanks, Deb.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides an update on the completion of the sports fields at Bicentennial Park East, delivered as part of the M6 Stage 1 project, and outlines the proposed arrangements for public access, bookings and allocations. Public access is proposed to commence from the 9th of March this year, following the completion of the establishment period, with bookings and lighting managed through Council's online booking system in line with standard practices. The report also outlines a shared use allocation model consistent with Council's draft sports ground allocation policy, designed to balance equitable community access while temporarily accommodating clubs displaced by capital works. So in this context, it's proposed that Arncliffe Scots Football Club be prioritised for allocation at Bicentennial Park East for the 2026 winter season, while significant upgrade works are undertaken at their field, Scarborough North. Competition scheduling on weekends would continue to be coordinated through Football St George, the association, with fees applied in accordance with Council's adopted fees and charges. Once the club returns to its home ground, allocations at Bicentennial Park East would revert to standard community bookings through the bookable system in the same way that we've been doing at Barton Park in fields 1 and 2. 3 and 4, sorry, in fields 3 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Just a quick question on number 3, the officer, and you mentioned in the report about bicentennial is coming back to the community. Is that likely to be 2027?
Yes, it is. So the Arncliffe Scots Football Club would be there for the winter season this year.
And Scarborough, it will be ready in the next season.
That's
Okay,
right. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. Is it only catering for the games or the training as well for the Arncliffe Scots FC?
Through you, yeah, both. Through you, the chair, it's a training for Arncliffe Scots, and then it's the scheduling for the games through Football St George. So it could be a home and away game, those sorts of things.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Okay, if no other questions, we've got an officer recommendation. Mover and seconder, all in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Okay, we're doing well, I think. Okay, we on report, fourth report, which is CS 26004, update report, draft sports ground allocation and usage policy, code of conduct and conditions of use. We do have an officer's recommendation. Mover and a second, moved by Councillor Kassim, second by Councillor Brederhoff. Who's given us a report on that one? Again, Ms. Dawson, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report presents the revised draft sports ground allocation policy and sports ground code of conduct and conditions of use guidelines that were brought to the previous committee in November last year. At that time, Council requested amendments before the documents progressed to community engagement, and these reports accommodate the amendments that have been requested. Specifically to strengthen Council's discretion within the allocation hierarchy, to incorporate membership considerations into allocation decisions, provide clearer guidance on enforcement and compliance. Officers have since reviewed and updated both documents to directly respond to that resolution, with the amendments detailed in the report reflected in the revised attachments. The key changes improve clarity, flexibility and transparency in how sports grounds are allocated and managed, while ensuring equitable access in the context of increasing demand. The revised allocation policy strengthens the selection criteria by recognising continuity of use, scale and diversity of participation and alignment with Council's community objectives, while retaining discretion to respond to competing demands. The revised Code of Conduct introduces a clearer, risk-based framework for managing breaches, improving consistency, accountability and fairness for both staff and user groups. The report recommends the committee endorse the sports ground allocation policy and the draft sports ground code of conduct and conditions of use guide for public exhibition, with community feedback to be reported back to the City Services Committee prior to final adoption. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Dawson. Any questions, councillors? Councillor
Yes,
Naji.
I'm glad with the sports code of conduct. It's going to exhibition, but we should encourage or maybe invite all the clubs to try and have an input into the public submission. Also, regarding allocations, can you give me an idea about the Dolls Point? Have they been retained with the similar usage or have they been cut back?
Through you, the chair, in terms of this seasonal allocation, is that what you're looking at? We have been still reviewing the allocations across the areas, and at the time when we're looking at that, we had Arncliffe Scots displaced without bicentennial being determined. Once that's finalised, it helps us redistribute. So we've been following some of the allocation guidelines and criteria. You look at the size of the club, we're speaking to the association around the members, trying to balance supply and demand, and also trying to balance displaced clubs. So I'll take it on notice to have a look at Dolls Point specifically, but that's how we've been trying to have the balancing act across all of the fields.
Sure, thanks. With the allocation, has that, I mean, you might not know yet, but has that changed significantly since the last allocation we've had? Similar to Michael's question, I guess, Councillor Najis.
Through you, the Chair, no, it hasn't changed significantly. We ask a lot more in questions, and we look at the membership data, we liaise with the clubs, we try and talk to the clubs about what they're predicting in terms of their growth. So we're in daily conversations with all the clubs predominantly, and we're always hearing that there's growth, there's demand, we need more, and we are trying to do our best when we've also got, as we've mentioned, displaced clubs, trying to accommodate them in a temporary nature. So we are trying to use a bit more evidence and information. What's your training schedules? You know, have you got underrepresented groups? What are your players? Are they Bayside based? All those things that we've outlined in the allocation, we've been applying as well. So they're under a little bit more maybe scrutiny around that, but we certainly try and accommodate them and, you know, work through those things together as best we can. They're not always happy, but we try and work through all of that as best we can.
Sure. And on public exhibition, have we targeted the trucks, the actual clubs specifically on the new code of conduct?
Through you, the Chair, some of them are aware of the code of conduct from this journey. However, we do have a sports forum coming up at the end of March. We've tentatively booked that in, subject to making sure that the allocation, we could engage with the allocation policy. And so the forum will be used as a very good medium, I guess, to be able to consult with the clubs. But there will be a broader education engagement program that also looks at the broader community and their feedback as well.
Thank you, Bobby. Councillor Kassim.
The proposed date?
Don't quote me, but I think it's around the 23rd of March tentatively. And we're looking at trying to secure a venue to make sure that we can accommodate you know, the representatives from sport bodies, yeah. But I will confirm that date.
Rockdale Town Hall, maybe. Yeah. Is that big enough?
Yeah, we're looking at the Rockdale, maybe the Sailing Club. Yeah.
Fair enough.
We're looking at options to make sure that we also can invite the clubs to join online if they can't make it in person, because obviously they've got busy lives and they're beginning of a very busy season for sport. So we can give that option of joining online or attending.
Good idea.
And we have engaged with Georges River, our neighbour, and the associations are already aware that we are working on this policy framework.
Thank you, Bobby. Any other questions? Councillor Brederhoff?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It looks good. I guess the question I had was like, does council have everything to be able to enforce what's in here? And it's good to hear that you're using it already, but yeah, do you feel like this will be useful or is it, do you have the resources to use it as well, to enforce it, I suppose?
Through the Chair, yes, we have obviously benchmarked and worked and liaised with other councils around their experiences and tried to align some of those principles. Some of the practices are already occurring. I think it was just firming up those consequences and penalties. And, you know, as we've mentioned that, and we've been working with the associations and we meet with them quarterly, that they will have the sanctions against some of the breaches of code of conduct, and then we would support them. So, for example, if they stand down a team or a club, then we would cancel the bookings because there's no need for them to use the fields if they're already been, had sanctions against them from the association. So we're kind of working with the sporting bodies and associations around code of conduct in relation to breaches of, you know, noise and those sorts of things. We think we're equipped to be able to deal with that, and we have been dealing with that. It just gives it a lot more rigour and some strength around it, and a bit more transparency and consistency across Bayside and Bayside users of our fields.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Any other questions, councillors? Okay, on that, we've got a mover and seconder and an officer recommendation. All in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Our second last report, CS 26.005, electric vehicle pole mounted chargers, additional size for public consultation. We do have an officer's recommendation. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Brederhoff, seconded by Councillor Kasim. Thank you.
I should say.
You've got a conflict of you're driving an electric car.
Right, I have an electric car. I should just declare that.
That's okay. No problem. Thank you. Who's doing the Ms. Dawson again.
Through you, Chair. In November 2025, Council approved 15 curbside EV charger sites funded under the New South Wales Government's EV curbside charging grant program. At the time, it was noted that one of those listed addresses, 1 to 7 Bruce Street, Brighton Le Sands, was deferred due to community concerns about high parking demand during peak seasons. Further assessment now confirms that this site is not suitable, so it's been withdrawn from the program. In Bonar Street, Arncliffe and Torella, we investigated and they were deemed unsuitable as well due to metal poles on the park side of that street. Timber poles are owned by Sydney Trains, not by Ausgrid, which makes it very difficult to deal with. And to the north along Bonar Street, there's no suitable poles as they're either in front of homes or at intersections. So those recommendations were also withdrawn. There are proposed new locations for consultation, however. 25 sites are proposed for the round of public consultation this time. 13 of those sites will be recommended for this round. And locations have been assessed by traffic and physically by the Manager, Environment and Resilience before putting this report to you. While each EV space will be EV while charging only, with 2 or 4 hour limits aligned with existing restrictions to minimise parking impacts. The next steps are that the chosen locations will go on public exhibition for 28 days and a post-consultation report will return to the City Services Committee and Traffic Forum for final sign-off and site allocation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Councillor Kasim? And I know Liz Barlow wants to
Yeah, look, thank you very much for investigating Bonar Street. I'm a bit disappointed because it is obviously a high density area there. So we wanted to get some facilities. I'm, wondering what other sites may be available around there. I don't know. Like, for example, I often think in front of parks is good. There's that little pocket park on Thompson Street. Is that, I don't know what there are parking spots there, but I've got no idea about those poles. Yeah, I think they're wooden, but timber, but I don't know if they're, who owns them or.
Yeah, through the chair, does need to be, I have to go to the site and investigate in principle, the timber pole with the green timber pole owned by Ausgrid is the one we should recommend it. Anything with the metal pole is not allowed to put any charger on it.
Yeah.
Also, if on the pole itself, if they have substations on the pole itself, it's not suitable. So there are quite a number of criteria from Ausgrid that whether the pole is suitable or not suitable. So there are quite a number of factors that have to be involved in it. So I have to be on site to be able to identify whether it's suitable or not suitable for recommendations.
Okay. Well, if you could potentially investigate that, and if it's suitable, then just put it in as a substitute would be what I would say.
I know, sorry, Councillor Barlow, did you want to speak on this? Yeah. Or do we have the
it says five spots, but then, no, 5 places, but 10 spots. Now you're indicating, I'm reading that as taking 2 spots in Carlton Parade, where there's no parking there at any day, any time of any day. But so are you putting double spots there and double spots around in Mill Street? Because the report only indicates 5, but then says 10 ports.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And I'll let it all go because but I believe it's problematic when, is there going to be double parking spots taken away? That was all.
Yeah, sorry, just on Councillor Barlow's comment, in that table on page 133, what Councillor Barlow has wrote, like Ward 4, it's got 5 charges, but then 10 ports.
10 ports.
Does that mean then others, they have 6 charges, say Ward 1, but they've got 8 ports? Is that like a double?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, through the chair, if the 2 different charger, one is have 1 port, which is 1 parking spot, and the other company provide 1 charger with 2 port, which is 2 car can charge at the same time. So in terms of Carlton Street, I've been review and go back to the site, have a carefully considerations. I recommend it's only 1 port for the Carlton Parade, which is only 1 port. So it should go back to 5 charger, but only 9 ports. So the other side will be 2 port, 2 sport. But at the Carlton Parade, it should be 1 charger, one charger with 1
There's no
port.
parking there any time of the day. It doesn't matter when you are. I mean, I go there quite often. And the other one is in Mill Street. You were lucky to get a photo without any cars there. I know it's outside the park, which is great, because I feel that's where they should be, the people, that if they're going to charge. I went past the ones, Bexley North, there is not a car there, never, I don't think, I'd like to see if we got any indication of how often they're used, because I know we're not paying. I presume it's costing us nothing, it's paid for by the companies. Doesn't cost count, and they rent the site, because people ask me, I said, I don't know, they rent the site.
Yeah, through the chair, from the last report proposed to council is, first, it's not going to cost anything to council in terms of installations and manage the charger. Secondly, they will have to lease the site at the licensing agreement, which is proposed for this type of charger will be roughly between 500 to 600 per parking location to be in par with other council, like Randwick.
Okay. I just want to know why we've been, Carlton, Ward 4, we're going to have double ports in each site. Is that the person that wants to do it, or because it's...
Yeah, initially it proposed by a company.
Yes.
And that's why I have to go out myself to identify with that location and see if that is feasible, is suitable, or how we're going to change it. So that's why the recommendations now is back to 1 charger with 1 port on the Carlton Parade. That's the recommendations.
Okay.
And so when it goes on, yeah, okay. I will leave it as it is, because last time I got named, well, I named myself, but I feel taking away 2 spots with the few EV cars that are around, personally, I feel there's not as many as the hybrids, there's a lot, in a dense area where there is no parking, should be only 1, not 2. I think it's crazy that we're giving away street parking to residents that have, anyway, it's up to me it's up to the residents to make
Through
comment.
you, Chair, if I can just say, we will go back and have another look at the 2 spot locations now that you've pointed out, Councillor Barlow, because it's very easy to reduce them back to 1 spot.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, It's got 70, at the other one, 79A, I still don't know why you'd have 2 there. It's all residential. There's no high rise there. That's in Verdon Street. Then Kingsgrove Avenue, there's 108, I've forgotten how many houses, not many houses there. Are they going to drive there, or they're just going to charge when they're in the football? I mean, there's no parking there when football's on or soccer's on or football. So I'm just saying that I'm just looking at the area that's why I read it, that we're going to take away double spots everywhere, and I felt, no, that's unfair to the residents that don't own an EV car, but have a car that they need to park somewhere.
Thanks, Councillor Barlow.
Okay.
Councillor Pooler?
So on the back of Councillor Barlow's comments with regards to the positioning of the EV charging, can we put something in place that we actually consider the placement? And I understand that there is quite a bit of influence from the EV, the suppliers and who's offering the grants and things like that. But can we somewhat steer, because obviously the outcomes are for our community, and we're not saying no to EV charging, but it's positioning them where it's more logically placed. So, you know, for example, in front of the parks or, you know, near the supermarket shopping centres and things like that. And on another note, you know, Cook Park. So when are we going to be implementing into the vast, the expansive amount of car parking spots on Cook Park? Have we got a plan of what we're going to do and how we're going to implement that? Because, you know, through previous discussions and through the media recently, there's been a loss of revenue with regards to other avenues. This will be an opportunity for council to sort of step into the space where we can actually provide EV charging stations in assets that we do manage or we do own that will benefit the community and the council's revenue as well.
Through you, Chair, we are looking, as I mentioned at the strategy day, of looking at an LGA-wide EV charging station strategy of our own, so that we have a whole overview of where the sites are that have the highest demand. That's a very important part of the equation. We need to put them where people actually have electric vehicles and want to use them. So that assessment will be undertaken this year, and we accept these grants wherever they're available, and there is a certain influence from the suppliers, but they're really basing them on the demand for the services, because they want their charges to be in the highest possible usage areas. So that's what's currently happening at the moment. But having said that, we do have ultimate control over where they're placed. You have ultimate control over where they're placed.
Thank you for that. And I think that that's a good way of moving forward. I do also believe that the positioning of the EV chargers shouldn't only be restricted to council assets or council land or you know, our space. I think looking at places where we do have some private asset management, that we could also influence the implementation in those sort of areas. I personally have been, you know, I drove around the state. I've seen, you know, RSL car parks with very active charging stations there. So sort of somewhat influencing our businesses or our community groups to sort of implement those sort of initiatives as well, because it also drives people into the area also. So thanks.
Thanks to Councillor Pooler. Just back to the ports. If we've got 25 charges around the city, Bayside, and you've got 36, if we were to actually reduce the number of ports from 2 to 1, and we lose the total of 36 on the assumption that becomes 30, aren't we losing what we've been given as grants, or do you actually put the ports on other charges?
Through the chair, for this route, we only need 13 locations. So that's the proposal for these 25 locations, with intention that potentially some site will be cancelled or rejected by the community. So like experience from last time, we put out 17 locations, we only get approved for 14 locations. So that some site will be cancelled. We try to manage to make sure that we still meet the grant requirement of the number of charging location and number of charge port to be available for the public.
So do we get to keep the grants for future locations, or do we lose those grants?
So the grant is for a certain number, which is 13 locations that we require right now. But in case that if we can get more locations than 13 required, we can save that one for the future. If another grant available, we can use that site for the applications.
Right. Just a quick question. Do we have any statistics, whether it's local government or state, about how many EV cars in certain areas in order to work out where to put the chargers?
Through the chair, yes, we do have the data of EV owner at a certain time at a certain suburbs. The difficulty we transport for New South Wales is the three EV owner might move from one suburb to another suburb within a year or even few months. So they only tell us during as of October, end of October last year, this is how many EV owner in that suburbs. So we got those information available. I can provide if it's requested.
No, just wondering whether when we decide where to put the charges, whether we have the statistics to actually work. Sorry, last question. Does council make any money out of the EV charges?
Through the chair, we don't earn commission from the uses of the EV charging, but the company will sign the licensing agreement similar to car share that they pay an annual fee for leasing the space at that locations.
Oh, that's good. There's a bit of money. Councillor Kassim.
Well, that's good. So just to clarify, so we have 13 spots, but you could, does a spot mean it could be 2 or 1? Like it doesn't matter? So in other words, does 13 locations mean 13 spaces or 13 locations where you could put a double?
Yeah, 13 location mean 13 charger, and it could be depend.
Could be 6 locations, 7 locations.
No, it have to be 13 locations, and that could be a double or like 26 ports.
A single, okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of the technology or the agreements with these people, the owners who are running this, if, for example, we only put a single one in for the sort of reasons we've been discussing, but then we find, oh my goodness, everybody's really keen on going there and we do have high utilisation there, how difficult is it to then switch it over to a double?
Yeah, through the chair, the single port is supplied by a different operator with the double port charger.
So, yeah, okay. So you got to make the decision up front. Right, so therefore you can't, because I am thinking also, for example, Walnut Creek, we know that's the highest usage. I think last time, unless it's changed, it was had the highest utilisation, which is just a single port at the moment. We can't switch that over or anything.
No, it's an old machine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Councillor Poulos.
Thanks.
Do we have a list of, I know we've got the 13 that you're proposing at this point in time. Do we have a list that's far more expansive than the 13? So you mentioned that you'll be going out and sort of looking at it. So there is, but I mean, Deborah Dawson mentioned that there will be a further review of all of the positioning throughout the LGA. Do we have a timeline of when we're going to sort of look into doing that? And so, okay.
Through the chair, yes, I do have a timeline at the current stage. I already identified 10 potential locations for fast EV charger. And I've been talking to the Department of Climate Change Environment. They will send a consultant to help us to identify more locations across the whole LGA. So I'm in contact with the consultant last week. Hopefully they can come on board and then we can go out and then assessing the site and come up back to council with the list of potential site for fast EV charger.
Okay.
Just one more question, sorry, this last. So we did mention the revenue and the potential earnings from EV charging. Obviously, at the moment, we are dealing with with government grants and different suppliers offering to us. Is there or will there be an opportunity where we will actually be able to either obtain some sort of a share of the usage, and on the back of that, do we have any data of the usage of the current chargers that we have in place at the moment?
Yeah, through the chair, in terms of usage for each charger that we as a council get involved, yes, we do have data of how they use it. And because I got the login into the system, that I can see how they've been used. But in terms of sharing the revenue, experience from other council is the administration time is probably cost more than the revenue that we get back. So recommendation from other council is just doing the licensing agreement and annual fixed fee rather than staff spend a lot of time doing administrative work, not unnecessarily.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Thank you for that. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Brederhoff?
Just a comment. So this is just this report asks us to support going out for consultation, and we will after consultation can still make a decision on the parking spots and any charges, right? So
So
I
we've
just
got
comment
plenty
to
of time.
pursue with that and continue the discussion after we've actually spoken to the community.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds good. Okay, Councillor Dunn.
Just a quick one. I noticed that there is a suggestion here that signs designated say EV while charging only. I just noticed down at Brighton recently, I went to charge my car and there was somebody an EV just parked in that site, and I don't think it had one of those signs. So it's just an EV charging parking place, but with just an EV parked there, and there was no signs up saying EV while charging only. So I just wondered if that could be double checked, please, to make that consistent.
Yes, I will go out on the site that will be installed and then double check the signage. But the signage, we normally use the standard signage from the Transport for New South Wales as part of their standard signage. So I will go back on the sign, double check the signage what we put up.
Thank you.
Good point. Thank you, councillors. So we've got an officer recommendation, mover and seconder. All in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Okay, final report, CS 26006, Norfolk Island Pine Trees, Cooks Park and the Grand Parade. We've got an officer's recommendation. Unfortunately, we've got to remove some trees. I'll remove her in a second, please. Councillor Strong, second by Councillor Brederhoff. Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, it was very sad reading that report. A few questions.
Through you,
Ms.
Chair.
Dawson.
Norfolk Island Pines have formed a defining landscape feature of the Grand Parade and Cook Park since circa 1890. An arborist assessment in 2022 identified 548 trees along the Cook Park and found most are healthy and structurally sound. However, 16 trees were flagged for review at that time, and our own review showed a total of 545 trees in April 25, meaning that 3 of the original trees had been removed. 3 dead trees now, priority 1 trees, pose high safety risks, including one that has been poisoned near 152 to 153 Grand Parade, and it's started to drop branches in high winds. So immediate removal as a safety risk is recommended. 5 additional trees have been noted as priority 2, and they're in very poor condition and should be removed and replaced in the next stage. Tree removal requires a road occupancy licence, but they will be on the Grand Parade, working from the Grand Parade, and coordination with Transport for New South Wales, the airport and the Port Authority due to their proximity to the major road and flight path. Replacement of the 8 identified trees is funded for this financial year, and an additional $415,000 Greening Our City grant we have just secured, and this will be matched with our SACL reserve funds to fund future replacements. So we have a fund of $830,000 to continue to replace trees as they become available. But we are in the process now of doing an overall categorisation of the trees, numbering every tree so that we know which tree we're talking about, and planning for the future replacement with the same species of the tree that's currently there at the moment in an advanced form. So we're looking at 500 litre pots of tree, which is a substantial tree.
Councillor Pulo.
So a couple of questions there. You mentioned one tree was poisoned. Do we know what's happened to the other trees? Is it natural or is it, have there been?
Yes, one, you probably recall the fatal accident, car accident a few years ago. That's one of them. The other one, we suspect it's poison, but we don't have any proof of it's poison. So we just really must kind of say why is dying, and what condition at the moment is really completely dead. So it's really need to replace, remove and replace it.
So the 16 that we've mentioned is more of natural causes. I know the accident and I know obviously a poisoning. So the other ones are attributed to sort of natural or unknown reasons for the decline in the tree health.
Yet the other trees, when I inspected two of them been damaged by thunderstorm. The other part is the condition. It looked like they got a color disease or other natural cause that is the tree in the really poor condition and won't be survive long. So its recommendation is try to remove it as soon as possible.
Can I make a recommendation that when we are carrying out this works, obviously, that the community are notified, because we will be hit with a social media blitz that we're cutting down the trees, something similar to our magpie spotting or the sort of the sign, the call flits that we put up, with possibly a QR code explaining what's happened. It's not that hard to create a QR code, with information on why we are actually taking this action and what we're actually going to do. Is that something that we can implement with regards to that? So each site specifically will have, a QR code that goes back to our website that actually says this is the reason why we're doing this and this is why what we're going to be replacing it with. And then on the back of that, obviously, I've seen it myself. We, as a council, we will plant trees, and yes, we do have a monitoring period. But I think we need an extensive period for these trees because of the significance and obviously the positioning of these trees. Because some may be poison, but some may have had natural sort of reasons for the decline in their health. Are we going to be putting into place an extensive sort of monitoring program to actually make sure that these trees either survive or are replaced if something happens and they don't actually catch on and need that support?
I guess that's not a bad idea, but would we be saying this tree is being removed because it's been poisoned and encourage others poison tree to say, we'll poison this tree and council will eventually remove it? Maybe that part of it we shouldn't be.
No, I'm not saying the poison side of things. It's more the removal, because there will be people on social media saying, look what council's doing, council's removing this tree unnecessarily. We need to be able to back why we are actually taking these actions. And I think with a QR code explaining the reasoning behind the removal of the tree, I think it's similar, like I said, similar to the magpie sighting call flutes that you see around. It doesn't take too much, a couple of stakes and a couple of
the
call
report
flutes.
does detail the reason for removing the trees. But I guess the other question for me is So with the office, you've got priority 1 and priority 2. Does that mean with priority 1, we're doing it immediate and then we wait a few months, or what is the time frame?
Yeah, through the chair, because the safety concern, we're really keen to get it removed as soon as possible. The other part is because we don't want to plant trees during the summer, hot summer day.
Right.
So that's why we delay a bit further out so we can get into the right planting season. So to make sure that the rates of survival are much higher than on the hot day and hot season.
Okay, thank you for that.
Just,
Sorry, Councillor Brederhoff and then Councillor Strong.
Thanks. Through the chat. Can we, upon Councillor Poulos' explanation, can we make an amendment and say point number 3, or probably 3, and then 3 becomes 4, that council prepares? Oh, there's already. Oh. It's done. Oh my God, sorry. Should have looked there and not eaten my nuts. Okay, that was one thing. The other part I was wondering, in terms of replanting, like, are we really going to replant it at the same location, or are we going to look for different, maybe potentially better? Because I'm thinking, if they've poisoned it once, will they poison it again? Is it wiser?
If we had a chance, we'll put a shipping container.
Yeah, I know. The shipping container doesn't really work on that space. Yeah, so I guess, is that something that council would take into account?
Yeah. I'm sure that will be in mind
through you,
as far
Chair.
as, yeah, sure.
We are proposing to replant in the same locations, mainly because there are established view corridors. We don't have to go out and consult on new locations for new trees. We're just replacing like for like.
Sure.
And the trees have a certain spacing and rhythm to them that we would like to maintain, not to interrupt. So that's the current proposal. Not in the same hole, because there may be poisoned roots or diseased roots in that, but right beside
Sure,
the
thank you.
location of the existing.
Thank you.
Just a quick one through the chair.
Councillor Strong, yeah.
Has there been successful replantings like in the last 2 decades? Because my concern is that they're going to be so vulnerable, these young trees, where there's people out there poisoning, that they really need to, be surveillance and protection to give them the best chance that they can have, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, yes. Recently, we plant quite a few young trees out there, and I keep monitoring almost every month that I drive my bike along just to keep an eye on it, and it's quite healthy condition right now. So it's the condition of the tree that we plant is quite good.
Okay, any other comments or questions, councillors? If not, that was our last report. So there being no further items or reports, I declare meeting closed at 8:10. Thank you so much for attending and your contribution.
Yes, yep. Okay. So, welcome councillors, members of the public and staff. I declare the meeting open at 8:17. To the City Performance Committee meeting on the 11th of February. Everyone in this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keeping communication factual, use appropriate language and tone, do not use any defamatory, derogatory remarks, defamation laws do apply. I also ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. At present, all present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings, or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of council staff via the exit via the door there and proceed to the evacuation point. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. The following apologies have been received from Mayor McDougall and Councillor Boutelet. And Councillor Dusko has also apologised. Thank you. There's no other apologies? That's fine. Do I need a motion to include Councillor Barlow on the committee for tonight? Yes, someone? Yes, Councillor Douglas, and seconded Councillor Rederhoff. Thank you. Excellent. And there are no applications for leave of absence. And no one else in attendance by audiovisual? No. Okie dokie. Does any councillor wish to make a disclosure of interest tonight? No, thank you. And can I ask who were present in the last meeting to move and second confirmation of the minutes? I wasn't present. Okay, and then I'll second then.
Was I here? It's like in the minutes, wasn't it?
Okay, yes. Are you seconding?
Well, I'm seconding if I was here.
Okay.
I don't know if I was here.
That's fine. Okay, all in favour or against? Carried. All right, so if we can go to the first item then, which is the quarterly budget review statement, and have a, anyone like to propose? We move, yes, Councillor Rederhoff and Councillor Douglas. Thank you. We'll have the report.
We'll just have a short presentation with Luke Phillips, our Manager, Finance.
Yes, thank you. I presume this is going to be quite similar to the one we had at the strategic day. Yeah.
Yep. Through the chair, tonight I'll be doing a presentation on the Council's Q2 quarterly budget review statement, which is also referred to as the QBRS. I will go through the main changes that have occurred to the budget since Council adopted the Q1 QBRS. We will take a look at the revised statement of income expenditure, the revised cash budget result, and major variations to the capital projects program, also referred to as the CPP. As a result of Q2 QBRS review, we are anticipating the following changes to the statement of income and expenditure. Total income is expected to increase by $2.9 million. This is mainly driven by the following. Councillors received $2.5 million in grants towards Spring Street Naturalisation Project. We are also anticipating an increase in funds of approximately $940,000 from Transport for New South Wales in relation to the M6 corridor footpath restoration works. These increases have been offset by a $500,000 reduction in anticipated parking fine revenue due to changes made by the state government that requires parking officers to issue physical parking tickets now, and also a reduction in about $300,000 in revenue in relation to the closure of the Botany Family Daycare. Total expenses are expected to increase by around $800,000. This is primarily due to the increase in costs associated with the M6 corridor restoration work, which is the $940,000 in grant revenue received, and additional depreciation costs of $429,000. This is offset by the rephasing of next year the demolition of the Botany Administration Building, which is about $590,000 costs transfer for next year, and savings in the cost of approximately $390,000 in relation to the closure of the Botany Family Daycare. This has resulted in a $2.1 million overall increase to Council's gross operating result, increasing it to $25.6 million. When you exclude the impact from capital grants and contributions revenue, the increase in the operating result is about $120,000, taking the operating result excluding capital grants and contributions to $3.1 million for the year. Next slide, thanks. As a result of the changes in the operating result and rephasing of projects, the overall cash result, as you can see, has only increased slightly from $49,000 to $50,000. Next slide. The Q2 QBRS review sees the CPP decrease by approximately $600,000 to $91.8 million. The primary changes to the CPP include the following: bringing forward $3.7 million in the future year's budget in relation to the Riverine Park upgrade, with work on the car park proceeding much faster than anticipated. Rephasing of the St. Joseph Banks pump track of $800,000. This has been moved to next year, with the construction set to commence in next financial year. As mentioned before, the demolition of the Botany Administration Building at $590,000. This has been rephased to also the next financial year, pending DA approvals. And also the Mascot Oval upgrade work, about $530,000 has also been rephased to the next financial year as well, and that's also pending DA approvals for the project as well. The details of all the changes in the Q2 QBRS are included within the report and the supporting attachments as well. And with the final slide of this, so this next slide is basically just the recommendations which are included within the body of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a mover and a seconder. Any questions? I think we covered a lot of this in our strategic day, but questions from anyone? No? All good? All right, all in favour or against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Luke. Okay, we'll go to the draft fraud and corruption policy. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Douglas and Councillor Berhoff. Thank you. Officers report.
Through you, Chair. I'll do this one. So effectively, we're putting on exhibition a revised draft fraud and corruption policy. We're looking to align it with a new risk management policy suite and procedures we've got rolling out. It's based on the best practice audit and recommendations, and strengthens the prevention, detection, response. The next slide sort of shows you a life cycle of what's happened in the fraud and corruption space. ICAC had issued some guidance around 2023 with the elements that they were requiring to be included in the policy. Council undertook an independent assessment and reported that to the AREC around things, areas we could make improvements in our fraud and corruption, and that's now all been reflected in our policy. And now our approach is really the zero tolerance approach has now been confirmed by Council as the way forward in terms of the key part of our policy and strategy. So the policy improvements is obviously to review the current state. We're looking for a more succinct and sort of direct policy where it's quite clear, makes it a lot easier for us to train staff if we make the policy statements quite clear. So that was obviously a new part of the policy structure we're looking for. And we've also benchmarked our practices versus other councils to make sure that we're really in line with the way that local governments are doing this. And then the compliance obviously aligns with the best practice legislation, removing all references previously to the Audit Office who entered into this space in 2017 no longer. So we had to remove all the references to their previous work. So it's now very much aligned with that and the ICAC principles. So that's pretty much the fundamental parts of the policy. Now we'll go out to the public for exhibition. And obviously, once that comes back to council, then it's going to become part of the pillar 3 of our organisational resilience framework, which we've already presented a document to you the previous year, and we've got obviously a suite of more documents coming in the future. If there's any questions, but that's pretty much our
Fantastic.
report.
Thank you very much. Any questions, anybody? No? Important thing to do. Great. Thank you very much. All in favour or against? Declare it carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will go on to my favourite one for the evening, the market operator for the regular markets at Kale Park, Walleye Creek. Heaven that I proposed this. Okay, I'm going to propose it, yes. Seconded by Councillor Douglas.
Okay, through the chair, council went out to tender for market operator for regular markets of Kale Park at Walleye Creek. The intention of the tender was to establish a licence agreement for a suitable provider of regular markets at Kale Park, Walleye Creek. It is envisaged that regular markets will activate the site and provide cultural and entertainment benefits to the Bayside community. The site has the capacity to accommodate approximately 40 to 45 market stalls of food trucks with an area for entertainment and seating. We went out to tender via vendor panel and only received one tender response from the Market Edit Proprietary Limited. Next slide is a slide of where the actual site is. So there's the site is bound by the Princess Highway and Levi Street. It includes off-street parking for 26 cars and 30 cars at Levi Street and 26 cars at Princess Highway. Toilet facilities are available near the playground and the sports oval. That's a bit of a picture of where it's going to be. The contract will be in the form of a licence agreement to operate regular markets at Kale Park, Walleye Creek, for up to 5 years. The agreement includes clauses for early termination. The usual tender evaluation process took place, went to market on a public tender. It had a close date, tenders closed, an evaluation committee was formed, and an evaluation recommendation has been presented. The evaluation criteria and weighting, there was 20% weighted on market concept and vision, there was 30% on operational capability and capacity, financial and commercial viability was 30%, community and social impact was 20%, which gave us a total of 100% for the scoring. There was only one tenderer, so it was just a matter of making sure that the tender had all the capabilities to meet the requirements of the specification. The evaluation team scored the market edit tender submission against the agreed criteria. A referee report was provided from two providers, Peter Flynn, Chief Operating Officer of the Entertainment Quarter at Moore Park, and Anna Schumack, Director of Create New South Wales. The evaluation team determined the tender submission represents value to council and the community, and that Justin Levi, who is the owner of what's the company name? Market Edit, I think there. Has the capacity and capability to operate regular markets at Kale Park, Walleye Creek. The recommendation is council to award a licence to the Market Edit to operate regular markets at Kale Park, Walleye Creek for up to 5 years. Accepts the recommendation detailed in the evaluation report, and that the report is presented at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from anyone? Only thanks from me. Yes.
I just want to say that I think it's a great activation of the space, Councillor Kassim. So well done, and well done to everybody. I think it's great thing for our community.
Hopefully. So thank you very much. Yeah, Councillor Bretherhoff.
One question. Regular markets, what does that mean? Do we know that, or what options do they have?
Through you, the chair, will be on a weekend. And it will be, we'll work with the operator for the firm up the time, but it will be during the day. It would not be looking at impacting on like the neighbouring sports as well, and it potentially could also extend into some seasonal activity. So in summer it may go a little bit later, The mix of stores is like fresh produce. They will be engaging local businesses, which was a requirement from the motion that was sent from council, resolved from council, and have a little bit of entertainment, acoustic style entertainment, and also an opportunity for community organisations to participate as well.
Excellent.
So it could be either Saturday or Sunday. Is that what I'm hearing? That hasn't been defined yet.
Yeah, now that we will go into more firm discussions with the operator to be able to firm up the model, but in principle it would be a weekend.
Because I would just suggest, given the popularity of the Ramsgate markets, which is local, doing something on the Sunday would be better to reduce competition and also give people something to do. If
choice.
they can't do the market on the Saturday, they can do it on the Sunday. As a suggestion, as a local.
Okay, well, we'll leave that in your hands, so to do that negotiation. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Oh, excellent. Welcome, Councillor Saravanowski. You can hear us, I presume.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I can. Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Okay, well, all in favour? Oh, yeah, I declare it carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will now go and to the SS Rock tender recommendation for supply of ready-mix concrete. There was a confidential for this. I take it as read, but do I have someone to propose? Councillor Douglas seconded. Councillor Barlow. We'll have a report.
Thank you. So through the chair, Bayside Council is a member of SS Rock. They've recently gone out for the supply and delivery of ready-mix concrete. So we'll use ready-mix concrete for a lot of our footpath and road construction. The current contract has expired for these services. The contract is for the supply and delivery of ready-mix concrete. The purpose of this contract is to establish a panel of preferred contractors throughout the SS Rock region. There was 3 tenderers submitted, and 3 have been are going to be recommended. Central Concrete Australia, Gun Lake Concrete Proprietary Limited, and Metro Mix Proprietary Limited. Supply and delivery of concrete is pretty much done by our in-house staff for small patching and road and footpath construction. We also have external contractors who do a lot of the footpath work as well, but that doesn't form part of this arrangement. This is pretty much for us buying the concrete for our staff to use. The new contract aims to renew the services available in the preceding contract. The contract is for a period of 3 years with an option of 1 by 1, which is a 5-year total arrangement. The extensions will be executed subject to satisfactory performance, which will be determined by the staff. Again, the tender process was went through vendor panel as a public tender. It closed. There was an evaluation panel. There was an evaluation committee, and made up of members from each council, or most councils had a member of that committee in the committee, and there was a formal recommendation for the providers to be, for the 3 providers to be established as a panel arrangement. The evaluation criteria is attached. So it was there 40% was for 40% was price, and the other 60% was non-price. Tenders outcomes, so Gun Lake Concrete, Central Concrete and Metro Mix all scored highly enough to be recommended on the panel. And again, the recommendation is for council to enter into a 3-year arrangement with 2 extensions, accepts the recommendation detailed in the attached tender evaluation confidential, and that the report is presented at the next council meeting.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions on this? No? All in favour? All against? Carried. Thank you. And we're on to the last one. The tender recommendation report for Code of Conduct and Associated Advisory Services.
Yeah, again, very similar to the last one. SS
Sorry,
Ross.
just have someone to move.
Sorry.
Councillor Douglas and Councillor Breda Hoff. And then we'll, thank you. And yes, we'll have the councillor report. Thank you.
Again, yes, SS Rock went out for a tender again for Code of Conduct and Associated Services. Current contract for these has expired. The contract is for Code of Conduct and Associated Advisory Services. The purpose of the contract is to establish a panel of preferred contractors for the SS Rock region. There was a whole list of providers who are being recommended for these services, which is attached. I think there was, I don't know, with 12 or 13, 12. The services are for Code of Conduct consultants and experts, including advisory, case investigation, management and reporting, advice on appropriate behaviours against code, standards and public sector ethics, procedural conduct and fairness advice, mediation, arbitration and dispute investigation, advice and resolution, reporting services, probity, advisory and reporting services, public interest disclosures advice in accordance with the Public Interest Disclosures Act 1994 and best practice. Again, the scoring is up on the table there. It was 50% was demonstrated capacity and experience, and the other 35% was on company profile and the capacity of the company to do the work. I think it was 15% on price. Councils enter into, so the recommendation is council enter into a supply panel arrangement for those services over a 3-year period with two 12-month extensions. Council accepts the recommendation detailed in the attached evaluation confidential report, and the report is presented at the next council meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? No? Thank you. All in favour? All against? Declare it carried. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to declare the meeting closed at 8:39 p.m. Thank you.